This is all my fault, Anne. I'm so sorry.
I've got everything I want. Well, I thought I had.
Don't sleep with him, please. Right now, whoever else I love, I'm in love with you.
The Passion, new drama for BBC One, starts Saturday the 1st of May.
This is BBC One Scotland, the 1 o'clock news with Edward Sturton.
The bombing of Serb television is defended by Downing Street. They say it was a ministry of lies. Good afternoon. President Milosevic has put forward a new proposal for ending the airstrikes, but it was dismissed by Tony Blair and Bill Clinton at the NATO summit. The other headlines: a not guilty verdict from the General Medical Council for the 2 doctors accused of covering up after a massive morphine overdose to a premature baby. The campaign to find those behind the Brixton bomb: 3 more racist groups have said they did it. And gardeners, beware, there's a new threat to your plants. Serb television was put off the air for several hours last night by NATO.
They were all cleared of the single charge of serious professional misconduct and are free to continue to practice. Louise Wood was born 7 weeks premature. She lived just 1 day. A junior doctor, Hilary Evans, misplaced a decimal point when calculating the morphine dose, and she was given 100 times the recommended amount. The tragic error happened at Rotherham District General Hospital. Dr. Evans was found not guilty of serious professional misconduct. It was Dr. Vivian Michel, a paediatrician, who actually administered the fatal injection. He was accused of trying to cover up the error by making no mention of the morphine overdose on the baby's death certificate. The General Medical Council heard the cause of death was registered as suffocation due to lung problems. Despite that, Dr. Michel was cleared of serious professional misconduct. In the past few minutes, he gave his reaction.
This has been a very long and very distressing time for everybody concerned, especially Louise's family. And I realise the matter has been fully investigated, and I'm very pleased with the decision that the GMC has reached today.
Now, the other doctor involved who was cleared this morning was the most senior of the 3, Dr. Jean Shawland, and it was alleged that she should have ensured that the morphine overdose was mentioned on the death certificate, and also she should have informed the coroner straight away. And despite that, she too was cleared of serious professional misconduct. Ed?
Fergus, has anything been said or done during this affair to stop this kind of thing happening again?
Yes, the hospital involved has tightened up the procedures for ensuring there should be these fail-safe things involved. Obviously, human error is possible in any walk of life, but there should be fail-safe checks involved. Tragically, in this case, a nurse had said to the junior doctor, "I'm sure you're giving too much morphine to the baby," but despite that, the doctors went ahead and gave the baby the overdose.
Fergus, thank you. A bus driver has been jailed for life for the abduction and murder of an 8-year-old boy from Manchester. The body of Jamie Lavis was found on a golf course 2 years ago. Darren Vickers had always insisted he was innocent of the murder. He went to extraordinary lengths to ingratiate himself with the dead boy's family, even acting as their spokesman before his arrest. Scotland Yard says 3 more extreme right-wing organisations have claimed they were behind last Saturday's nail bomb attack at Brixton in South London. One racist group has already said it carried out the bombing.
The neo-Nazi group Combat 18 was the first to claim it planted the nail bomb which injured 39 people in a busy Brixton shopping street. Now 3 other right-wing organisations say they did it.
Those calls all came from groups which we would describe as overtly racist groups. We're treating each one very seriously. It reinforces the message we sent early on in this inquiry that we were not ruling out any avenue, but race was right at the top of our agenda.
Brixton may not have been the intended target. One theory is that the bomber was on a bus that broke down there. MI5 and Interpol are helping in the search for the bombers. The police will stage a reconstruction tomorrow, and the reward for information has been increased to £30,000. Linda Duffin, BBC News.
Police investigating the shootings at a Colorado high school in which 12 students and a teacher were killed say the 2 gunmen were planning to blow up the school and probably had help from others. So far, 32 bombs have been found, including a 20-pound bomb in the school canteen.
Almost 3 days after the mass killings in Littleton, police and explosives teams have still not pronounced Columbine High School free of bombs left by the killers. They found 32 so far, the latest a £20 device in the kitchen involving a propane gas cylinder wired to a petrol tank. That makes the sheriff and his colleagues suspect that the two teenagers may have had accomplices.
These subjects were not only going on a killing rampage, but they were going to destroy the school. They were going to burn the school up.
We certainly think that there's a very good chance now that we have more than 2 people involved.
Investigators have demanded details from the internet service provider AOL of accounts thought to have been used by the 2 gunmen. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold's Jekyll and Hyde existence fooled everyone. Polite and friendly in front of adults, away from them vindictive, resentful, racist and admiring of Hitler. And yet, neighbours had thought the youth's families were middle class, quiet, and as one put it, utterly normal. The whole community is in grief.
This is going to take so long to heal, and nothing's
I don't think it'll ever be healed.
Never, because so much has been lost here, and for such a retarded reason. And I don't think anybody's going to forget that, and you can only hope that good will come out of this by changing gun laws.
We must renew our efforts, not just in connection with this terrible tragedy, but with what we do about guns in the hands of young people.
The National Rifle Association holds its annual meeting in Denver tomorrow week and is refusing calls to cancel it. George Eakin, BBC News.
Time is 1:15. Later in the programme, should schools expel pupils caught with drugs? And the evil weevil that's after your plants. Schools are being urged not to exclude pupils caught with drugs except as a last resort. The message comes in a survey by a leading drugs charity. The Standing Conference on Drug Abuse says around 20,000 children in England are suspended or expelled every year for using drugs.
What types of illegal drugs did we come across this morning? Anish?
LSD, ecstasy, cocaine, heroin.
Pupils are taught to avoid all drugs at Heston Community School in West London. But if they're caught using them, they won't be expelled. Instead, they're offered counselling, a policy that appears to work here.
I have never actually been offered drugs in this school.
These students have never touched drugs, but know pupils who do, and argue they need help rather than punishment.
If they're expelled, then how are they going to help? How are you going to help them? Because they're going to go on the streets and not in school, and they're going to be doing it all the more.
I think for a first time, I think they should actually be counselled and asked why they're taking it, how they got hold of it, maybe really the reasons behind it.
But today's survey suggests schools in England do increasingly exclude pupils for using drugs, including alcohol and cigarettes. It found every year 16,000 children are suspended for up to 5 days, while around 4,000 are punished with permanent expulsion.
The school obviously has the right to exclude, but we want to guarantee and want to make sure that schools have tried everything else first. It's the action of last resort. That's what it needs to be, and some schools have got it round the wrong way.
But some want a tougher approach. This week, one school in Manchester became the first to use a sniffer dog, Scuba the Labrador, to search out cannabis. Many parents and teachers argue such a policy of zero tolerance is the only way to fight drugs. James Westhead, BBC News.
And in our Brighton studio is Chris Lowe, who is a head teacher of Prince William School in Oundle, and Peter Walker, the head teacher of Abbey School in Faversham, is in our Chatham studio. Peter Walker, what's your position? Do you exclude people immediately?
No, the most important thing is for young people to be offered the help. And if they don't want to take that help, you've got to work very hard to try and persuade them to take that help. We've got a very real problem in our schools. More than 50% in most areas have tried taking one form of drug or another by the time they're 15. That's nationally known. And if we ignore the problem, then we're going to help make it worse for the whole of society.
Chris Lowe?
Well, of course, there isn't a school in the country that doesn't have a drugs education program. I think that we take that for granted. But the other thing that youngsters and parents want is clarity and some coherence and consistency. And I think at the end of the day, if you spell out exactly what will happen in certain circumstances, and that is known, and it is carried out when it happens, then it will be underwritten by both parents and students, as it was in my school.
And what do you do? I mean, do you exclude people? pupils, rather?
Yes, indeed we do. But they know exactly, there is a tariff, there is a grid that is given to every child on entering the school, which says if you do this, this is what will happen, and that is exactly what does happen. You have to remember that they can then appeal to the governing body. So it isn't exactly exclude and be damned. There's a statutory right of appeal.
Peter Walker, is there not a danger if you don't exclude pupils when they're caught with drugs, that the authorities are seen to be condoning drug taking?
It's not a question of condoning at all. It's doing our duty to society, trying to educate people in a much better way than we have before. The government set the pattern in a way by issuing Circular 49.
I'd like to know, what would you propose